I'm Fred Cooper, and I live in Missoula, Montana. And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about how my smoke jumping experience helped me, throughout my career in life. So what I would probably like to do is to, rather than talk a lot about my smoke jumping experience, talk more about my career, and my life's experiences. Um, to begin with, I started. I was in forestry school and business school at Oregon State University. I started in 1960, fall of 1960, and the summer of '61 was my first experience. Working with the woods and the forests, and I worked on the Malheur National Forest that summer, piling brush, marking timber, surveying, logging roads, just doing a hodgepodge of different things. And I learned that summer, I was a GS3, and I learned that summer that there was such a thing as smoke jumping. And I was on 3 fires that summer, so I got a taste of what, that was like. And, it wasn't, any big deal. But I learned that smoke jumping, you could start out as a GS5. So instead of making, I think it was like $1.63 an hour, I was able to make almost $2 an hour. And when I was going through college and earning my own way through, boy, that was going to be a big, big boost. So lo and behold, I ran across a guy on campus, Lynn Sprague, who was in forestry school at the time, and he'd smoke jumped the previous summer or two. So I learned a little bit more about that, and he told me where and how to apply, and I did. Well, a couple places, and told me where not to apply to. He was, like all of us jumpers, we're biased as to what locations we might want to work. Yeah, and he had his biases. So I applied at one of the places was Winthrop, Washington. So I applied there, and lo and behold, I was accepted. And I didn't have the slightest idea what it all was going to be involved. But hey, I learned so much. In my smoke jumping career involved. 2 summers at Winthrop, Washington, at this North Cascades Smokejumper base, and then that was '62 and '3. In 1964, Redmond Air Center opened, and Redmond, of course, was in Redmond, Oregon, and I was already living in Oregon, and I thought that's closer to home, and I don't have to travel so far and spend so much money and time traveling to another location. So I traveled to, I transferred. I applied for it and wanted to try and get it in Redmond, and my foreman at the time, Francis Lufkin, said, "Yep, that's okay." So I went down there, and and then I spent, let's see, 4 more summers, at Redmond, and I progressed on through as to a squad leader and spotter, parachute rigger, repaired parachutes, and learned a lot about life. And really what my smoke jumping experience did is it taught me tremendous amount about self-confidence, about leadership, adventuresome being and an overall can-do attitude. Hey, if you want to do something, pursue it, and just do it. It was it was both physically and mentally challenging, and that prepared me, so much, for the rest of my life, or at least to my present life, presently where I'm at. And I, the summer of '67, I transitioned Yeah, I might back up just a little bit. Smoke jumping, I had 40 fire jumps and 72 uh, jump parachute, smoke jumping jumps. I did yeah, and then a few more skydiving jumps while I was at Oregon State University in the skydiving, club. But I didn't enjoy the skydiving very much. I enjoyed more the parachuting and the ride down, through through the air. And maybe I probably was too scared, to spend very much time free falling. But so though, I had, obviously a full range of fires, small two-man fires, tough fire jumps, easy ones. I was a squad leader, and I would had several fires where I'd have 16 man loads of DC3s, and I'd take out, and the big job there is figuring out what you're going to do and organizing the crew. But smoke jumpers are a different breed of cat. They pretty much know what to do. They're taught and they learn, trained, what the next person's going to do, and you don't really have to provide a whole lot of leadership to them because they're so well trained, what to do, safety, how to use tools, a wide variety of tools. So it's not a big task, and I just used that, for the rest of my career and rest of my life. And in '67, I transitioned from smoke jumping into human resources in Forest Service, and I spent my career, really in human resources from 1967 to 1996, in human resources. And I spent, the first, that 20 years or so working in different locations in Oregon, Washington, for the Forest Service, Bend, Oregon, Lakeview, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Gresham, Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And after 20 years, my wife and I were trying to figure out, what is it we want to do, because we're at a point where we're starting to do the same thing all the time and looking for challenges. And that's what smoke jumping taught me too, was some challenges, looking for adventure. And so we applied for, we decided we started applying for jobs somewhere else, and I applied for a job in Vienna, Austria, as a matter of fact. I was never accepted, but it was with the International Atomic Energy Commission. And my wife applied for a job in Washington, D.C. with the Forest Service, and lo and behold, that was our acceptance. And so I tagged along behind her, and I worked. I got a job with the Office of Personnel, which was located in the Secretary of Agriculture's office in Washington, D.C. And so I spent my last 10 years working in the Secretary's office, and I ended up with Chief of Employment and Recruitment Policy for the Department of Agriculture. 100,000 plus employees, and it was. A real challenge working. I had a lot of liaisons with the Federal Office of Personnel Management, the Office of Management and Budget, and also people on the Hill, congressmen and their staff, trying to get policy changes occurring. And I remember being up there one day with the Secretary Espy, the Secretary of Agriculture, and briefing him. People have an odd perception sometimes of how things happen in Washington, D.C. They think things take a long time, and a lot of them do, but there are times when just within a few moments or hours or less, that things happen. And I just happened to be up there to help the secretary in a briefing of of a human resources policy issue, and he was getting ready to testify before Congress, and I spent maybe 15 minutes briefing him, as to what to say, and then I would, and while he was testifying, I'd be by his side, whisper in his ear, answers to questions that congressmen are asking. So it was, I go back to my experiences, smoke jumping, how that, you've got to make quick decisions, on the fire line, and or in especially in parachuting, and you just got to make those quick decisions, and all, as well as some long range planning, planning for the future, what you're going to be doing, and so all that culminated and helped me in my career, and especially the adventurism part. I've been to all 50 states in the United States, not just traveling through, and I think I probably have slept in all 50 states. I've also traveled to 20 foreign countries. While I was even when I was in Washington D.C., I had work in the Secretary's office. I'd work and traveled to different states doing work. So it was a great experience, and there's maybe a couple issues or policy issues where I was involved with in my career. One was one that I'm not too proud of. Human resources is that I probably could call it a debacle in the way human resources is being managed now in the Forest Service. It's so centralized that it's interfering with managers on the ground, getting their job done. I was an opponent of that approach, but I wasn't successful. Another one, activity or policy issue I was working on was when I was in D.C. working with the historically black colleges and universities, and I felt instrumental in doing the technical aspects, not the political or the big leadership tasks, but the technical aspects of how is it that we can establish the Department of Agriculture can establish a scholarship program for historically black land grant colleges, students, and I'm proud of the fact that I was behind the scenes, being able to construct a program that was back in 1990, and it's still establishing and running 25 years later. I guess 25 years later. It's just those types of things are activities are involvements are exciting and can be proud of.